Hi, my name's Dan, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up a material specifically for use for painting a landscape in Unreal. So here's a landscape that I created earlier in a project. The first thing we're going to want to do for our material is to get some textures. Well, let's get up the Epic Games Launcher. I'm going to steal some textures from one of Epic's own projects. There's the Games Launcher, and if you go into Learn, then there's a set of example projects in here. If you scroll down, then there's a very old one, Legacy Samples, Landscape Mountains. Okay, so you just double click on that and create the project. However, that takes a bit of time, and I've done that previously. I've created the project and I've loaded it up, and here it is. So what I'm going to do is go looking for the textures that I particularly want in here. And these are in the assets folder and the textures folder. I'm going to want some snow textures, some dirt textures, and some grass textures. So first of all, I'm going to look for the snow textures. We've got a normal map here and a straightforward snow texture. Let's just double click on that. That's a displacement map. It doesn't seem to be a straightforward texture, so I've used this previously, so we'll use this and see how it goes. And we're going to migrate those. As well, we're migrating, and I'm going to go to not that one. Landscape painting content. Select folder. I'm just going to copy them across. Now I'm going to look for my grass textures, and I'm going to a diffuse texture and a normal texture there again. Great. Same folder, and finally dirt. And I'm going to use the base dirt, normal map, and the displacement map. Selections. Great. There we go. So they've all been sent across to my example. The textures are here. So the next thing I'm going to do is create a material. So I'll go new material, and I'm going to call it. And open that up in the editor. What I'm obviously not showing you in this video is how to do all of editing materials and how to do different things in there. I assume you know this already, and hopefully this will make sense to you. So I'm going to go to those textures, and I'm going to highlight them all and drag them in. I've got three kinds of texture in here. I've got normal textures, and I've got as in color textures, and I've got normal maps, which are these bluish ones, and I've got one which is got an alpha map, which is the height map, and I want to work out which one's which. So if I highlight them, this one's a snow. So I'm going to do snow at the bottom. I'm going to do it kind of inverse, as it were. Is this the grass? That's the grass. I'm going to put the grass at the top. I'm going to put the dirt in the middle. Spread those out a little bit. And so I'm going to do the same. What order did I have? Grass. So we've got a grass texture. We've got a dirt texture. We've got the snow texture. And then finally we've got the dirt height map, which is the alpha from that texture. So there are two things that we're going to want to use to plug this together. So there are specific nodes now in material editing for landscape stuff. So if we start typing in landscape, the first one we want is the layer coordinates, which uses our UV coordinates. If you've done stuff for textures before and materials, you'll be used to this. But this is a specific type of texture coordinates that come from the landscape. We're just going to copy that again and have it the same over here. Excuse me. Right. So, as well as the specific node there for the landscape coordinates, the other specific node that we're going to want is landscape layer blend. Landscape layer blend. So this is a node which handles the fact that we have multiple textures and we want to give it blending information so it can blend from one texture to another, which we're going to do when we paint our landscape. And we've got three different kinds of texture here. We've got a snow texture, which is going to go on the tops of the mountains. We've got a dirt texture, which is going to go part way up the mountains. And we've got grass, which is going to give us the lowlands at the bottom. And we're going to need a color map, and we're going to need a normal map for this. So we need a layer blend for each of those. When you first get the layer blend node, it has no input pins. What you've got to do is to add layers to it. So we're going to add 3 layers, 1, 2, 3, and then we open the information, and we're going to make the top layer the grass, and the next layer the dirt, and the third layer is the snow. So we've gone in opposite to the actual height that we're going to use. And in here, there are 3 different blend types in here. We've got a weight blend, which is a normal blend using the painting information that we're going to give it. There's an alpha blend, which uses the alpha channel. Not use that, so I'm not entirely sure how that works. And there's a height blend, which is very like the weight blend, but what it does is where the 2 textures overlap, it uses an additional texture to make some of the texture that's being hidden underneath peep through at points where it's appropriate. So we're going to do a normal weight blend for the grass, and we're going to give it the preview weight of 1. So I think that means that when we first apply, apply the texture, it will show that by default. I'm not sure whether it's that or whether it's the fact that the grass is layer 0 that makes that happen. The second one was our dirt. We're going to use one of these height blends because we've got the appropriate alpha texture for that. And the snow, we're just going to use a weight blend. And we're going to keep both of those at preview weights of 1. So this gives us 4 inputs on our layer blend node. We've got a layer grass input, which we're going to bring from our grass texture. We've got a dirt, which we're going to bring from our dirt texture. And we've got a snow, which we're going to bring from our snow texture. We've also got the height dirt, which is that information that's being used for the peeping through of the dirt where we've got the snow. So I'm going to feed that not out of there, out of the alpha channel there, into the dirt height. And actually, we want to repeat that in the other layer blends. So rather than use a blank one and repeat all that information, it's exactly the same. So we'll just do that, and we're going to use, this is for the normal maps now. So there's the grass, and there's the dirt, and there's the snow. We checked those earlier, and again, out of the alpha there, the height of the dirt. This is the normal map, so this goes into the normal pin on the material output, and this goes into the base color on And that's the texture done. Now, there are all sorts of clever things that you can do. This is a very basic 3 texture painting mat. And if you want to know more, there's loads of tutorials out there to find out more. This is to get you started and give you a starting point. Right, so I'm going to click apply and save and close it down. Right, so that has appeared here. Next thing we need to do is to highlight our landscape, which is there, and we're going to plug this material in by just dragging it into the landscape material. And it's compiling shaders, and it's gone black. So it'd probably be a good idea to rebuild the lighting at this stage. Rebuild lighting. There we go. Whilst it's doing that, we've got some more stuff that we need to do before we can actually start painting, unfortunately. So we'll go to the Paint tab here, and it's automatically brought up these 3 layers because they were created in our layer blends nodes inside our material. That's just a message from the BitLight build. And yeah, it hasn't solved it, but things will happen in a second. So it's given us our grass, our dirt, and our snow. And we're going to need an extra asset for each of these layers, which is a layer info asset. And all you need to do is to, next to each one, click on the plus, and we're going to use a weight blended layer, which is normal. And it's going to create a new folder called Untitled One Shared Assets. There's the dirt, white blended, and we need another one for the snow. There we go. And it's given us our grass as a default layer. I'm not quite sure why we've got this circle there. I've had that happen before. And now, if you want to paint in one of them, paint some dirt on. So when you start to paint, it's fairly typical that this thing happens where it flicks off the checkerboard whilst it's working out what the shaders need to do. This is quite a light texture for this dirt, so it's not quite as we'd really want it. Can of course increase the brush size of this to get a bigger area for the painting of this. And here we go. I'm going to get a dirty area around our mountains, and then finally I'm going to highlight the snow. I'm going to shrink down the brush size and I'm going to paint on some snow on the mountaintops. And again, it goes checkerboard the first time you paint a new layer onto a bit of the landscape whilst it works out what it's doing. And there we have the snow blending into the dirt. I'm not entirely sure if we can see the way the height blender's working there. And we've got a bit of the edge here where the grass is blending into the dirt as well. So that's the basics of how to put a material together for landscape painting. Of course, my painting here isn't very good. I haven't spent a lot of time on it to try and get it right. The textures look quite odd tiled, but it's a start. And that's the end of this video.